This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Tech, show number 117, recorded on May 16th, 2013. Here on Home Tech, we cover all your favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the Average Tech Guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in Bellevue, Nebraska. Just a great day today, and we post the show with world-class show notes each week out at the AverageGuy.tv. Although, with Andrew being out the last 6 or 7 weeks, I've lost my show note writer, so I've had to do it myself. They're hardly world-class. But they do have the links, so you can go out there and check those out. If you have questions or comments or contributions, you can contact me. Just send me an email, podcast@theaverageguy.tv. You can find me on Twitter, just at Jay Collison, or you can follow the show schedule on Twitter at theaverageguy.tv. If you can join us for the live chat during the live show, 8 p.m. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, Mike, 8 p.m. Central. You can come out here, and there's chat right next to it. It's actually on this side over there. There's a chat window right next to the live screen, and you can log in there and actually just create any ID you want, and you can join us for live stream chat. It's a nice to have you out there to do that. And, of course, if you want to watch us on YouTube, I would say the YouTube player down below, but I didn't set up the player right tonight, so it's not down there. But all the videos are archived on YouTube, so if you go to youtube.com/theaverageguy.tv, I think, or the Average Guy, I think it's the Average Guy TV, you can get all the recorded YouTube videos out there as well. And then a reminder, we are doing a contest. I'll talk about that here in a minute, or actually I'll do it towards the end of the show. But if you're buying from Amazon, just go to theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. If you track through that, anything you buy on Amazon, we make a little commission. We throw those back into giveaways, and we're giving away $100. So if you want to figure out or find out how to win $100, just stay to the end of the show, and we shall tell you. All right, well, we got a packed show tonight. We're going to talk. This will be the last one about laptops that we've done. We've done 3 before this. Actually, if you go back to theaverageguy.tv/HT114, 115, those are both laptop shows. Good stuff in those that you might want to go back to. 116 was Mike Howard and I talking about this Hangoutosaurus and the Drobo giveaway, or the Drobo meetup that we had here in Omaha. So if you want to find out what a Hangoutosaurus is, hang out to the end of the show or go back to 116 and get that. And then, of course, this is 117. So if you're listening to the recorded version of this, you can get all the show notes. theaverageguy.tv/HT117. All right, let me quickly introduce the guests to you, and we'll dive right into laptops. All the way to the right, and the guy who's been on every show since show 1. And Christian, I might have muted you. So
that's
you
to
might
the
have
left.
Did I say right? All the way to the left. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm directionally challenged. Christian Johnson. Christian, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Oh, good. You got the mute turned off.
I assure you I won't let you censor me with your mute powers. It is finally back above 40 degrees in Buffalo. We're back to 70, and school is out. Exams are done. Commitments are fulfilled. The aisle walk is on Wednesday.
Nice.
The plane ride is on June 1st. Gosh, there's a lot going on.
Plane ride to where? Where are you going? We're going to spend if you listen to the show, you guys, if you're regular listeners, you know Christian's been around a long time. So I want to spend just a few minutes getting updated on him. I know you guys normally want to dive right into the content, but Christian, what happens later here in the summer?
Sure. So June 1st, I head back to Langley. I'm going to put in another summer with their information management branch and help the center leadership on the data mining strategy plan that NASA Langley and hopefully headquarters will adopt. Be working with 2 other students this summer. I'll be the veteran; they'll be the newbies. So that's a perk.
You can haze them appropriately.
Yes, so that'll be fun. And I have some stuff coming up with college already. We got the orientation for the cybersecurity group coming up, and a couple of plans with some just trying to get into start looking out into what's going on in the computer world. So I might plan a couple of trips, and those aren't finalized yet. So I'll let you know about those at a future date.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really exciting. It's
cool.
It's going to be a really awesome summer. It's going to be a fun one, but I think there's going to be a lot of good ops on the horizon. So
yeah, for sure. So we'll miss you next week. You'll be en route, so you have next Thursday off. You don't have to worry about that. We'll actually have John Zadler back. We're moving the Home Server Show from Wednesday to Thursday. So if you want to come out on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central here at theaverageguy.tv/live, I'll have John Zadler with me and maybe another guest. We're going to talk Windows Home Server. We can't do a show on Wednesday. Dave has the night off, and so we're going to talk all home servers next Thursday. And then for the next 3 Thursdays after that, we're going to talk about virtualization, and that's a topic that came up over at facebook.com/group/theaverageguy. And thanks, Kyle, for putting that in there. And we're going to talk about your VMs. So hosts, if you're out there and you're listening, I'm interested in VM topics, or if you're a VM specialist, Jay Moore. Love to hear. I put out a thing on Google Plus, and I'd love to hear from you. The next 3 shows be all about virtualization. All right, Christian, welcome, and I know you got a busy summer, so it'll be great to follow you throughout the summer. Next to him, a newcomer to the show, and we know him as PC Eddie, but we'll just call him Eddie for the show. Eddie, how are you?
Great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. You've been hanging out on the fringes of the community for a long time out there. I know you know Zadler pretty well, and when I was talking about this, you kicked in a little bit and said, "Hey, I'd be interested in talking about laptops. Give me the 1-minute elevator speech on what you do."
All right, what I do is I work for the VA hospitals. I work over here in Salisbury, North Carolina, at one of the big VA hospitals. I work in the OIT department, specifically working at the help desk. We're a jack of all trades, but a master of none. One of the things that we handle that I'll be talking about tonight is actually the laptop portion. I've added some information in the show notes, but that's one of the small tasks that I'm required to do when I'm at work. Basically, to lump it all up, as far as what I do, is multitasking to the nth degree.
Yeah. In any kind of help desk setting, certainly you've got to be able to do it all, right? And fix it. So, well, good. Well, I'm real interested. You kind of come at it from a government angle, and maybe some challenges that you have around that. I would be really interested as we get to that point, talk about what's working and what's not working for you in a large government setting with laptops. We had Nathaniel 3 shows ago talk about what's working for him in education. And we've talked about a variety of other things in this. So have that on deck and ready to go. And then all the way to the right, and I just podcasted with him last Sunday. We talked about his new Hangoutosaurus. Mike Howard, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jim.
Good to have you. And thanks for jumping in at the last minute on Sunday night. If you haven't gone back and listened to 116, you're going to want to do that. We talk about this new word called Hangoutosaurus, and if you want to know what that is, you have to go back and listen to the podcast. Mike, on Friday, if you put Hangoutosaurus in Google, you got how many results?
0. Not one result.
No results.
Never heard of that word.
Never been said before, at least by Google. If you put that in the browser now, if you put that in search now, how many results do you get?
When I did it this morning, it was 280.
Nice.
280.
Mostly me. A lot of me.
A lot of me.
No.
Breaking news. Now it's 292.
Oh, very nice. It's picking up quickly. We and basically a Hangoutosaurus is a play on the Skypeosaurus that Leo Laporte built for his studio, and you've got kind of a big setup there with a massive PCs all running Google Plus and Google Hangouts to make it work. I don't want you to go in depth, but because we did a whole show about it. But.
Right. It's just what JPEG to RAW uses from time to time. We don't use it every show, but we use that for our podcast so that we have the best quality video we can, given that everybody is remote.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, actually, I got a chance to talk with somebody on Google Plus today that was having some questions about using Hangouts, and I referenced the show and the way I've kind of set up Hangouts to make them work with the, with the audio jumper and the way we have a broadcast server, and so it was a timely discussion. A lot more podcasters moving to Google Hangouts.
Right, because it's dependable video.
Yeah, no, for sure. It works out pretty well. I don't get as fancy as you do, but it actually still works out. You talk about the video flipping. Let's just talk about that. There's been a lot of changes at Google, and when the video flips, it's got to refocus. But did you know when it's recording, you don't see that same reshuffling. So if you go out to YouTube and download it, you don't get that weird. Pixelation problem.
Right. And so I don't want to go too far into it, but that's one of the reasons. The other reason is if you look, you're either the big photo or everybody else is the small photo. By the way we do it, I can make everybody a big photo, and I can get the best quality.
Right on.
And do whatever we need to do with the video.
Yeah, and flip in between people and stuff.
Right.
So anyways, that's averageguy.tv/HT116. Just from last week, I produced it late on Sunday night. You might have missed it. Go back and take a peek at it. All right, let's dive right into laptops, Mike. You, I know, over the last, with your work, over the last, can I say year? And when did the Surface RT come out? And you were one of the first ones to pick those up on the day it came out, right?
What was it, last November?
Yeah, I think so. October, November time frame?
Yeah,
and
I had to.
Go ahead.
So I have been over. I'm the controller for our company, but I'm also over the IT. And I told my IT guy that if he doesn't get it the first day, he's fired. I would have never actually done that, but
No.
but no, we got several of the RTs, and they did okay. We really didn't end up deploying them. We were just using them. A couple of us in the office were using them to test, because what we really wanted was the Pro. And so the purpose that we were looking at is some of our executive team had a laptop, had a tablet, and they had tablets from an iPad to an Android device, and none of these could look at. They kept the tablet for browsing and doing lightweight consumption stuff. Nothing real productive. Just looking at consumption, maybe looking at some emails, but probably not. They used a laptop for when they need to look at Word files, Excel files, and for Outlook. So they were carrying around both devices, and we were looking for the Surface Pro. So we got the Surface as a test thing, Surface RT as a test, but we were waiting for the Surface Pro because we thought this would be the one device that could replace the two devices for them. So whenever the Surface Pro came out, we actually ended up
beginning of the year, right?
Yeah,
so,
was it
January, late January, or February?
Yeah, I think it was actually in February when we got ours. And here, let me do a little screen share for you. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, let me put you in focus so it stays up. Go ahead. We
had ordered a number of Surface Pros and RTs and the mouse and the Surface type keyboards and all these things. And what we ended up doing was giving 3 of our executives the Surface Pros. And then we were going to give some of our other field people the Surface RTs. And the Surface Pro gave it to those guys, and we gave, as you can see, we gave them the cases and everything. And the very first time I put one of them in the case, I'll show you what happened. Let me flip to it real quick. The little device broke. The little zipper broke. So the very first one I went to close, it broke. So we ended up returning all the cases and got some different cases. But I will report that what has happened. Those guys, when I first showed it to them, they were, "What's this Windows 8? I don't like this. Whatever." They were a little bit hesitant. But over time, all 3 of them have given me back both their original laptop and their tablet, because we said keep everything. If you don't like them in a month, then give us back the Surface Pro, and we'll do something else with it, and you can keep your tablet and your laptop. All 3 of them have kept their Surface Pro and given us back their tablet and their laptop. And the strangest thing, all 3 of them, for whatever reason, love using the I'll stop screen sharing. Yeah. They love using the pen. They use the pen all the time.
Okay.
And one of, as a matter of fact, we keep several on hand because they keep losing them. But they're using it. They love the fact that it has Outlook built into it. They love the keyboard. Actually, they are enjoying using the keyboard.
And they have type keyboards.
They have type keyboards. They all have type keyboards. They're using. They have, one of them has, and I should have known this before the show, but one of them has got some kind of PDF viewer, so he gets an income statement on a PDF file through email, and he'll write on that with his pen and then mail that out to somebody else. So they're all using it. The major weakness that they all have, the problem that we have with it, and this is really the only, well, there's really only one. The battery life has not been an issue for them because their laptop, it has about as much battery life as their previous laptop, so they're not that upset about the battery life. What they really would want is built-in cellular. What they have now is little AT&T hotspot cards that they carry around, and they use those.
Right.
But if they were to come out with a Verizon AT&T version, that's what they would want. And really, we're holding back. So we've only given it to 3 of them, and it's been a success. What we're going to do is is once the cellular version comes out, we'll test that one real quickly and make sure there's no problems, and then give all the executives a choice. Do you want the Surface RT Pro, not the RT, but the Pro, or do you want the Lenovo Yoga, which is our other choice?
And that's another PC that you've picked up recently, right? So you've kind of been testing these kind of through the cycle, right?
Right. And we, I got a Yoga right here if you want to see one.
Yeah. Just pull that up and put it in front of the screen there.
So this is my bag that I carried in.
Yeah.
It is a very deep bag. And well, let me take this out first.
That was like a clown bag. That's like a clown bag that has no bottom.
I did that on purpose.
That's funny. If you're only watching the, or if you're only listening to the audio, you should head over to YouTube and watch the video. That was pretty funny.
So this is the Lenovo Yoga. And this is the Core i7 one. And I went into a room where all three of these executives were using their Surface Pros. I brought this in there, and I said, all right, you can have this. You know, it's a laptop. And they were all like, well, you know, it's too big. I don't want a laptop. And I said, well, it also becomes a tablet. All three of them still just wanted to keep their Surface Pros.
Wow.
They all said they liked the Pro because of the size.
Okay.
This is pretty sharp here.
Oh, that's a 13, right? That's a Yoga 13. They make a Yoga.
This is the 13. Yeah.
11. That's the same size as the Surface Pro.
Yeah. It's
cheaper too.
It's cheaper than it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's cheaper than the 13. Yeah.
Well, cheaper than the 13, but yeah. But this is my personal laptop that I'm using now. So
does that have a pen on it?
It does not have a pen, but it is, it is touch.
Oh yeah.
See?
Yeah, we can't see that.
Yeah, you can't see that.
There you go.
But it's touch.
Yeah. By now, I think most people have seen. When we talk about Windows 8, we've exhausted the discussion on the Windows 8 side of what it looks like. But that form factor bends all the way back, right? No twist in that, but it bends all the way back.
Correct. And I use it. So during our podcast, what I do is I put it like this. Let's see, like that.
Yeah, the tent.
The tent with just the screen facing me, and then I use mouse without borders on it, and use my regular keyboard for it. But anyway, in our setting, it's the size of it was a little too big. There was really no issue they had with the Surface Pro that this one would have solved. Even if I got the smaller version, that this would have solved, because their only real issue with the Surface Pro was the cellular. So for them, they're going to keep that, and we'll probably change it out when they get that. We ended up. I showed you that picture earlier where I had a whole bunch of Surfaces there. I think that was 5 RTs and 2 Pros that we got that day. We ended up returning every one of the RTs. We had 2 RTs before that, and I still have one of them in one of the cases here. So we did keep that, and we kept it because it's at my house. And I use it as just a tablet.
So the RT has been pretty much a failed experiment for you, right? I mean, is it that because it's not powerful enough, or what's the problem there?
So once it's small and it's lightweight, it's not bad. And I have the touch. I have the touch keyboard on this one, but I just use it as a tablet mainly when this is going to get really crazy. I use it when I'm upstairs.
That's your upstairs computer.
Nice.
And then I use the laptop when I'm doing serious work away from work and not on my PC. And then I have a Surface Pro that I use in other cases.
Okay, so the Yoga is the serious work machine for you. Right. And the Surface, the RT, is what you take to consume when you're watching TV, and right, you'd use it like an iPad, is what you're telling me. Even though you never say that way, right? That you use it like an iPad.
I have no idea. I've never used an iPad. But yeah, I use it in tablet form only. Okay. The Pro, I actually have done some work on the Pro. I have Dropbox on this and everything like that. So all my files are synced to this thing. And
Christian, is that the TV in the background for you?
No, that's my sister laughing.
Oh,
Is she watching Big Bang Theory too?
I think they're watching American Idol or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, we'll try and mute if you can, because we can hear them pretty well.
Yeah, the difference in size is not that much. If I can line that up good. But this one is the Pro is a little bit heavier, and you can feel it, and it can get hot. If you're using it pretty heavy, you can hear those fans going. It can get pretty hot. But the resolution on the Pro is really nice, and I think that's what the guys like. That it's got good quality resolution. They can use everything in Office in there. They can load any normal program in there. Heck, I've gone to meetings with this thing and had Audacity going and recorded the meeting using Audacity. The picture quality, you'd never use one of these to take pictures. The picture is just horrible with these things. You can use it for Skype, but other than that, it's just horrible. And they're asking the screen difference between the RT and the Pro. I don't know, but isn't the Pro 1080p?
I've long since forgotten.
Yeah, I don't know. And we haven't, I know there was a big debate on the storage amount in the Pro. We've not had anybody complain to us of storage. We have cards for them if they want to add additional storage, but no one has complained about the storage.
Tim says 720.
720. He's talking about the camera. It's a 720p.
Oh, okay.
And 720p, I think, is actually like 1 megapixel or something. It's stuff that they stopped making cameras with 1 megapixel back in the 90s or something.
And those just take regular SD cards, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think, or is it micro SD?
But you guys haven't put any in, right? You haven't added SD cards to it, and it's been fine?
Right, and I have 128 gig. You can't see it. Maybe a little bit. I have 128 gig, but I think most of the other guys have the 64, and they haven't used it up.
Huh.
And it just for them, it just works great. I think that for the most use case that they're doing is web. They're doing a few web things. They're doing some Excel stuff, mainly consumption of Excel, view in Excel, not so much of producing. If I'm an accountant, that's what I do most of the day. I would not want to do my spreadsheets on this thing. Actually, when I'm at work doing heavy spreadsheets, I'm using a desktop with a nice monitor because even the Lenovo is a little bit weak for some of the spreadsheets I do. But
it just gets kind of small,
It does. I want a little bit bigger monitor for some of those big spreadsheets.
Right.
But for these guys, for people who are going to be traveling a lot, we gave them a choice also between this little bag, which is a nice little bag. It's I put it in chat. Nixon, I think, is the bag, and I have the link in chat. It's it has a little holder where you can put your hand through it, so when you're holding it, it holds very well. Now, I don't have it in there, but if I put it in there.
Here, I'll put the link in the real chat.
You can hold it like that.
Show notes.
And it's a nice little bag to hold it. If you put all the power supply and all that stuff in there, it gets a little bulky, but it is a nice little bag to carry around with. The bag that came with the RT doesn't really fit with the Pro because it's very hard to close, and you'll break that little thing there if you try and close it with the Pro in there. It's just not quite thick enough. The other bag we looked at is this Incipio. This one here. It's a little bit bigger. It has multiple compartments in the inside. Where's my camera?
Yep,
multiple
you're good.
compartments. And we have a couple of guys who are using that too, and it's a little bit bigger for them. So I think they carry around that is their only bag. The guys who have maybe another bag and they just want to put the Surface in it, this works great as something you just slide right into your existing bag.
When they travel, can you just pull that out and put it in the bin and not pull the Surface all the way out of that bag, or do they make you have you travel? Yeah,
this bag
make you actually, yeah.
You can carry. Well, when you
because they have these approved bags now that you don't have to take. Like they've got some where it'll unzip and fold over, and the laptop is the only thing in that bag, so you don't actually have to take the laptop out of the pouch anymore. You can leave it in and fold it back up and rezip it. Do you know if TSA rules allow you to just throw that bag in the in the?
I don't know that answer. But it is pretty small, and it fits in your existing bag if you have one, or you can carry it, all by itself.
So chat says airports categorize it as a tablet. I can't pronounce it. Is it Byronomio? Byronomio. Put your real name in
Byron.
Byron. We're just going to call you Byron. Byron. Airports categorize it as a tablet, so you don't have to pull it out.
Okay. Yeah, but it has a lot of the benefits of a tablet.
Okay.
It has a lot of the benefits of a tablet, but it also has the power, because the Core i5 processor has the power of a laptop. And I use the pen too. I have the little pen and the little pouch that I had on the side, and what I'm using it for is if you're on the desktop, some of the little icons are too small to push, so I use the pen to push that. One of the other guys, like I mentioned, is using it to write. These things are like $30 a piece, so don't lose them.
Pretty expensive.
Yeah, for a little pen.
So it sounds like the average guy test, right? You've got a bunch of non-IT executives who you would think would lean towards their laptop or their tablets. You didn't influence them really in any way, right? I mean, you couldn't say this is, you got to use these. The smell test, the Surface did really well. I mean, the Surface Pro did really well for them.
It did, and speaking of, I didn't tell them they have to use it. One of them is the president, so I could not make him use it. Only thing we did, because they had never seen Windows 8 before, is we sat down and gave them a few little pointers on here's how you do this, here's how you do that, here's how you go from Metro over to desktop. And so we did a few little pointers like that. We set them up. We brought in all their stuff from their laptop and put it on here. So if they had whatever programs they had, we put it on there for them, and brought over email and that kind of stuff, and set up their email accounts. And bam, they were good to go. That they did not need a whole lot of handholding. They figured it out on their own. And I did that. One of them who got the PDF program, whatever it is that he's using to write on, he got that all on his own. And you like I said before, we let them keep their current tablet and their current laptop, and said, you let us know when you feel like you want to give whatever you want to give up. And all three of them gave up their tablet and their laptop and kept the Pro.
And they were iPad tablets, or were they Android tablets?
They were all three were Android tablets.
Okay. Like a Galaxy, I mean, like a Tab, or do you know?
I think there were three different ones, or two different ones. I think one of them was a Tab, but the other two were not. Okay. I don't know what the other two were.
Yeah. Did they disconnect their keyboards a lot? Did you ask any of that kind of usage? Are they using it like a tablet and then using it like a laptop?
One of them still does this. So he wants to bend it backwards, and I just bend it back like that. Yeah. The keys don't work. Every time I watch him, every time he does it, he takes it off, flips it around. If I can do it here. It's hard to do at this angle. And does it like that.
Yeah.
Like, I've told him a couple times.
I would too, because I don't want those keyboards facing out. The keyboard facing out. That'd feel real weird.
I kind of bang on it when I'm.
All right.
But you don't have to do that. There's when you flip it over. See, I do this as I'm.
Yeah.
But when you flip it over, you don't have to do that.
Right. It automatically shuts itself off. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and when they're in the office, the Wi-Fi works really good on this thing. It connects just fine to the office. It connects at their house. The Wi-Fi, I have found the Wi-Fi on this thing has been pretty good. So all in all, a win for us.
Yeah, not a bad little test after 4 or 5 months, right? I mean, you've had let's say 3 months. You've had them,
right?
Byron in chat says, he sounds like he carries his around quite a bit and has had pretty good luck with it.
The only thing holding us back from going further with it, one, we're not going to, we don't give laptops to everybody, and this would be more of an executive type level laptop because of the cost. The only thing holding us back from going all in with all of our executives, at least offering it as a choice, is the lack of cellular.
I wonder if there's any you guys know any news on? Have you guys heard? Are they gonna add 3G to any of these Surface Pros going forward?
Our AT&T contact says it's coming, but he doesn't have any idea of when. Right now, like I said, they have their little AT&T cards and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Did they have that before in their laptops, Mike?
They did, because before they had their tablets had, I think their tablets had cellular built into it. Their laptops, of course, did not.
Okay. Yep. Well, that makes sense. Okay. Now, talk a little bit, real quick. Talk a little bit about your yoga. Just what have you liked about the yoga because you've been using that pretty much full time for the last couple weeks, 3-4 weeks.
And when you say full time, it's so when I'm at my desk, I'm using my desktop.
Okay.
But when I'm out, and even here at the house, sometimes I'm using this. The keyboard is nice. To me, Windows 8 works well in something like this where you've got a chance to touch the screen. You know, my desktop, I'm not going to touch it that much. But being able to use keyboard and touch at your own choice when you want to, sometimes it's more efficient to touch something, while other times it's more efficient to use the mouse. And so for me, it's been great to go back and forth and use that way. The power of it, this is a Core i7, has been really good too. So for me, it's just like any other laptop, but with touch added, and then the ability to flip it over into the tablet mode.
Okay.
It's a little big. It's a little big for a tablet.
Yeah.
And the size is awesome.
And they're expensive.
Well, I think this was like $1,200, $1,300.
Yeah, it's still pretty expensive. I mean, it's an Ultrabook.
Yeah.
So, and it's a Core i7, and you'd pay that for a Pixel, or you'd pay for that for a Mac. So it's in that same category. I'd say probably as nice from an equipment standpoint as any of those other two.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. And did we want to pick something for? Don't we have?
Let's come back to Rich.
Okay.
So Rich asked us in the notes if we would talk through a laptop purchase for him. So hold on to that thought.
Okay.
Let's talk to Eddie real quick. And Eddie, you probably come at this from the. Okay, I'm going to stereotype you here for just a second. You're a government worker. You work in the VA.
Right.
Government is not known for being ahead. Well, maybe it's different with Christian at NASA. Maybe NASA's, maybe they're funded differently. But the VA, I know it's a government facility.
Right.
Certainly, you got to have some challenges when it comes to some of the equipment, specifically with laptops. Are you guys racked with old stuff, or is there newer stuff like tablets making its way into the organization?
Well, specifically, we're not working right now with the tablets, or at least I'm not, the department I'm at. But another person that works within our department is working on that, looking at an iPad right now. They may change their focus to maybe work with the Windows tablet, but right now we're really not looking into it as far as going into the tablet realm quite yet. We're still focusing mostly on the laptops is what we're using.
And have you guys made the jump then? Are most of those laptops on Windows 7? Or are they still running Vista, maybe some XP ones that are still out there?
Good question. Right now, we're in a transitional phase. We are rolling out Windows 7, and we have a due date coming up of September. And believe me, every day the whip is being cracked on us hard to get it rolled out, because we have a deadline to meet. We have over 3,000 computers, not alone the laptops that we have as well. We're looking at around 250 laptops. So right now, doing our normal duties, on top of rolling out Windows 7, needless to say, we're just busy from the time we come in to the time we leave.
Now, you're a break fix guy, so you see a lot of what works and what doesn't. And I don't know if you guys if you had to standardize all on one. I imagine you have a variety of brands probably that were bought over time. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing anything that you really, what do you really like and what do you really not like? I mean, be a consumer reports guy for a second. What are you seeing working well new and what hasn't worked so well?
Well, right now, what I've seen that's worked well over the years is Lenovo. We're still using a Lenovo T500, and that's sold the time for about 4 or 5 years. And we're still using it, and we're still putting Windows 7 on those and still putting them out for the users. And they've stood a test of time right now. The Dells is kind of hit and miss because, again, we use predominantly we use Dells, we use some HPs, and we do have some Lenovo's, like you said before. You're right. We kind of run a hodgepodge of equipment, but mostly any new equipment coming out are Dells. And we run the gamut of, I think I put it in the show notes, the types of laptops we're running with the Dells, like the old ones, the D630s. Those are pretty old, but they're standing the test of time. The E6220s and the E6320s and some E6400s and so forth. But overall, it is standing up to the test of time. We do have some people in the VA that travel and so forth and really, are really tough on the laptops.
Yeah, you know, those 6220s and the 6320s we used for a while, a couple years back, and they're great little laptops.
Oh, they are.
They're very simple. They don't have a latch that breaks. They just open up. They're real durable. They keep cool. The design was good. They're a little boxy, but that's a good. I think if you were looking to buy a used, for whatever reason, lately I've been having people asking me, hey, if I was going to buy a used laptop, what I would use? That's probably a good recommendation for one that's 3 or 4 years old. That's been good little workhorse and runs Windows 7 really, really well. That has been good. You mentioned Lenovo. Christian, let me bring you in real quick as we talk about Lenovo. Certainly, we've talked about you and you're thinking about the Lenovo Helix going forward and whenever that comes out. What's your feeling about Lenovo going backwards? I mean, has that been an organization? Certainly, they got the IBM line, but that doesn't mean it's going to be great quality. Your thoughts on Lenovo?
Yeah. So there are some laptops that I can see in their mid-range that people might find iffy, but if you look at that Helix ThinkPad, that's engineering at its finest. And I really think there's going to be some really solid reviews when people start getting it in their hands. What I'm actually waiting for is I'm going to wait out a semester because I have a feeling once Haswell comes out, they're going to upgrade the Helix ThinkPad for Haswell, especially with the cooling design and the capabilities of that processor. And that would be a complete ultimate rig to have a Lenovo ThinkPad Helix running Intel Haswell, running Windows 8. I mean, you're literally you're maxed out right there in that type of form factor with that type of potential.
But you pay a price for that, right? You pay 15, 16, 17, 18
yeah,
but for something like
that. It comes back because, I mean, take for example, my dad bought in like 2003 a 17-inch Toshiba laptop that had one of those overclocked fast Pentium 4 hyper-threaded CPUs, and it had one of the first high-powered NVIDIA at the time, NVIDIA FX 5200 graphics cards in it. That thing still runs Windows 7 Ultimate with Aero like it just came out of the store yesterday. And yeah, did he pay $2,000 for it when he first got it? He sure did, but it is still a fully functional computer. You can still do, I mean, as long as you're not going to go on a crisis warfare, I mean, it does everything that you got when you originally purchased it for. So it really just depends on how often you want to upgrade. But I mean, the money talks in the sense that the more you pay, the longer you can hold out without having to upgrade. But if you like to be at like the cutting edge that's not really high quality and you want to see it crash and burn every 4 or 5 years, then yeah, go with something that's not as expensive. But
Eddie, as Christian talks about this higher end laptop, do you find most of what you guys see is in the mid range?
Yeah, pretty much mostly what we see in the mid-range because of the use. One of the laptops I forgot to mention was we also use a Panasonic Toughbooks as well for some of the people that are always out in the field and so forth, like social workers.
Okay.
I see them use them as well. But yeah, mostly we're in the mid-range. We're not towards the high end or anything. If I would say if we have any of the laptops that are in the high end, we have a couple like 3 17-inch Dell, and I can't remember the models off the top of my head. They're behemoths. Those are laptops, but I wouldn't want to carry those anywhere. I mean, they'll break your back.
So you threw a note in here about security, and of course, you know, we say VA, of course, that's hospital, so that's patient records, right? That's all you guys deal with, right? You've been doing this a while. What has changed over the last, let's just say, half decade, right? The last 5 years for you in IT with encryption. What have you guys? What kind of stuff are you under now when you're talking about? Because this is a huge concern for the enterprise when they send these laptops out with important financial information. Mike, this is important for a controller, right? You don't want sensitive corporate information leaking its way out. So, Mike, maybe I'm going to ask you maybe a little bit about how you guys encrypt, or do you encrypt? But Eddie, how are you guys encrypting that data if you are? I know you are, but how are you doing it?
Well, basically what we're doing is we're using particular software. We're using Symantic Endpoint Protection, and we use them on all the laptops. So it's basically encrypted. Not only are we using it for our laptops, but when we're rolling out Windows 7, we're also using it for desktops as well. So that's really a high priority. And in the show notes right there, I put a couple links Because in the past years, people have read or heard about the VA losing laptops, they weren't encrypted and so forth. It's become very paramount, for all of us here working in the IT, working in the VA. If there is a laptop, if it's on-site, off-site, it is encrypted because it has patient information in there. So, I mean, we do take the security very high. Granted, we got a high level of security on there and we keep everything encrypted, but it's a double-edged sword because sometimes when the encryption software fails and the people can't log in to get past the encryption, because you have two sorts of logins. You have the login for the encryption, then you have the login to Windows. And if the encryption portion is not working, you can't get past or get into your laptop. So, I mean, that's something we struggle with right now. But overall, we have success with that.
And when you say can't get in, does that mean, is their data permanently locked at that point?
Pretty much. I mean, with the encryption, that's the thing. If the laptop is stolen or lost or misplaced or what have you, I mean, I played around with it a little bit. Good luck on getting that data. I mean, the only option you have is take out the hard drive and format it, which data is going to be lost anyways. Because, I mean, that encryption software is tough as nails. Unless you know the password, the encryption username and password, you ain't getting in.
Now, in our enterprise, we encourage everyone to keep their data on the network, right? So if the very little data should ever be on a laptop at this point. That's what we preach. I mean, just get it to the network as soon as possible. Is that also kind of a rule you guys follow?
Yes, that is definitely a rule that we follow as well. We keep everything in a My Documents folder, which is synced up to the network. But again, some people they want to keep stuff on their desktop to get to it easily, and sometimes they lose their data, and it does happen. And I mean, sometimes it just really breaks my heart when I tell them, I'm sorry, your data is lost because you kept it on your desktop. And the staff at the hospital and the outpatient clinics that we support as well, they all know that, so they take the risk, and it has happened. With the Windows 7 rollout, we've lost some data, and data got lost. And, sometimes as well with the laptops, if they keep stuff on the desktop and the encryption fails, which the only thing we can do is reformat the hard drive and and just re-image the laptop. The data's gone.
Right. Yeah. But I've found is the more you preach that in the organization, the easier it is to say that. When you said that to the end user a million times, don't save it to the desktop. Don't save it to the desktop. When you say that over and over again, and then they do, I find when I run into folks, I don't, do direct tech support, but I'm one of the tech guys that people ask questions of, and I say, they'll say something like, yeah, my hard drive crashed, and I had this file. I'm like, well, was it on the network? Well, no. Yeah, you need to save that on the network. I mean, backup. That's your chances are better of recovering that off the network than they'll ever be getting it off the hard drive. Mike, do you guys, from an encryption standpoint, is that a real issue or a real worry for you guys when you have all these devices out?
It's not a huge issue because no one's carrying all the financials out there. I mean, they may have piece parts to it, and when I say piece parts, it's more like a weekly number or something. So no one has the detail. The detail is retained in the office.
Yeah.
In the office, most things are kept on the network also. If you're remote, then you're working with stuff that is not that wouldn't give anybody a full picture of the business.
Sure.
So you would only have a small part.
Do you guys encrypt your laptops though before they go out?
The only thing what we do for encryption is more of a dual password login type thing. Outside of that, I don't want to give away too many.
Yeah. You're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
And two things I wanted to mention. One is that 11-inch Yoga is not Surface Pro. It's not a Windows 8 Pro, I don't think. I think it's
Windows
an RT.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't necessarily be that. The other thing with this one is it has no network connection. You can't connect the Cat5 cable to it.
No Ethernet connection.
Yeah, no Ethernet. So you're going to have to be Wi-Fi with it.
Yeah. Some good points.
But it does have HDMI out and USB 3 and USB connection. So it's got decent connections to it, other than no Ethernet.
Christian, let me roll it over to you. When we talked about security, and I'm not asking you to give away any national security secrets or anything, but with NASA and their policies, how strict are they on security and encryption in that way, or at least what did you experience last summer as an intern that you can talk about?
Yeah, I'm sure, maybe not, but Yeah, you guys would have heard about it. That's public information. The NASA laptop that got stolen back in like, gosh, November, and it was right before they had finished their initiative, which is data at rest, and that's essentially. And as a disclaimer, I'm speaking on my own behalf. I have to throw that out there before.
And you
I say anything, but...
you can always decline to speak.
Oh yeah, no,
okay.
I know.
All right.
But anyways, going forward, they were trying to get this data at rest thing going, which essentially, whenever the computer is off, it's the hard drive is self-encrypted, so it basically makes any kind of stolen equipment impossible to penetrate, and the encryption is ridiculously, I mean, it's strong stuff, right? But there was some problems initially with the rollout. There were some computers it was kind of glitchy on, and it was taking them a while because there's hundreds of thousands of computers at NASA, and they had gotten really close to finishing it all, and right when this laptop got stolen, it was like right before they were getting to that round of the laptop. So it was not a good scene. But point being, in general, now, I mean, after that incident, absolutely, like literally the next day, it was a mandate. Everyone has to have this done. No more waiting on it.
Shut it down and get it signed. Shut it down, get it encrypted, put it back in use.
Right. So everything is encrypted. All of our hard drives are encrypted. Password security, you have to have super strong passwords. Special characters are required. Very strict monitoring of the network, even for the employees, especially the guest network. If they see any activity that's non-HTTP, you'll probably get flagged. You'll probably get blacklisted. I had an incident with Skype running that gave some false signatures being a torrent application because it uses UDP technology, and I lost, even though it wasn't my fault, I lost laptop privileges. No laptop personal back on the center, so that was like a year ago.
Oops.
And,
these darn kids.
Yeah. So,
well, we also encrypt at the hard drive level, and then you have an encrypted login, and that automatically logs you into Windows, which is nice. One of the other things we do is we block the USB ports from data.
Yes.
So you cannot, Eddie, do you guys do that as well?
Yes, we do that. You actually, we have a procedure set in place for that. By default, it's turned off. Can't plug in a device if you do. Our security officer on site gets a message pops up, and you get a call. They pretty much talk to your supervisor, and so it's like I'm sorry.
Little hand comes out of the monitor and slaps him in the face.
Pretty much right behind him, just grabs him. What are you doing? But
what do they call it? Brain duster.
Yeah, pretty much. So people there are educated. You plug in a USB device, and it's told during new employee orientation, do not take a little USB drive and stick it in there. And that's one of the other things that we use as well as part of our technology. We use a thing called a iron key. I'm telling you what, I researched that because we support it and issue it out. I am highly impressed with that little USB thing.
It is cool.
It is. I mean, to me, it's kind of like on a James Bond thing, because then if you don't put in your password 10 times, and I still can't figure it out if it's a chemical or something that breaks the memory, it just becomes useless. So, I mean, if somebody gets it and they're trying to hack in there and they're trying to get that password to get into that USB stick, that iron key, 10 times, good night, man. It's over. We've had people do that by accident, and it's like, well, unfortunately, it just cost you $100.
This is the Emation, I think is the name of the company. It's their iron key equivalent, and it mounts as an encrypted CD essentially, and you put in your password, and
so you have to have that, right? It's two-factor authentication. You got to put that in, then authenticate to that before it lets you use the equipment, or before it lets you use the drive.
I don't know how the iron key works in comparison to this. This has an unencrypted and an encrypted partition. So if you don't want to encrypt, you can choose what data is what. But it's not like it's authenticating with a network service. It has your encrypted password on there, and if you put the wrong one in, you're going to get locked out. So those are used everywhere, and that's another thing. Yeah, we're not allowed to use any personal USB drives. You'll get smacked on the wrist if you're not carrying either an iron key or one of these. I can never say the name right.
Yeah, when we blocked the USB use, and by the way, they blocked the data use, but it still works for charging, which is kind of cool, right? Because the employees were like, "Oh, hey, how are we going to charge our phones?" So they were to be able to block it for one and not block it for the other. And in chat, it's going on. Nothing is totally, secure. But let's just say it's secure enough that people aren't moving data, our Gallup data off the network onto their own drives and taking it home, so to speak. But we have stopped seeing USB keys. I mean, I haven't seen one in the office. In fact, I'm part of a user group, an Oracle user group here in town. I run the group, and we used to give away USB keys as, like giveaway stuff. We'd brand them and give them away. Nobody wants them anymore.
Yeah.
They're like, no. You got what do you use them for? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a problem by itself.
Yeah, well, and we block all those too. So Box, Copy, Dropbox, all that, Carbonite, Crash Plan, all of them that are on my. So if you go to theaverageguy.tv/cloud storage, that's the kind of the index of all the cloud storage offerings.
You have a list of all of them?
I have a list of all of them.
All of them.
Well, no. If there's one, there's like 25 on there. If there's one that's not on there, send me an email, podcast@theaverageguy.tv. Check that out, theaverageguy.tv/cloud storage. And we just updated that with Copy, because last night I noticed copy.com started giving away 15 gig of free space as opposed to the 10, and then you can get 5 for referrals. And I got 5 more referrals last night. So, and I taken advantage of the 100 gig offer they had a couple months ago, and so now I'm up to 125 gig of storage space. I can't get to it from work.
Wow!
But that's a lot of free storage. So, anyways, Eddie, what else? Any other in the VA, in the world of government? Any other challenges or things you guys are doing you want to bring up?
Yeah, some of the challenges that we see is some of the people that use the laptops, they're just average users. They're if I just got a penny for every time I've heard it. Every time I've heard it, I'm technically challenged, I'm not good with computers, I'd retire by now. So the biggest thing is training and getting people used to using the laptops and how to log in and so forth. That's a big challenge, because half the time we get the laptops back, it's because they haven't logged into them for a while, or they didn't put it on a hospital network, which causes issues for them as well. So they kind of get read to riot act a little bit, and then we give it back out. If we see something like that repeatedly, we get the laptop back. So that's part of it. Encryption as well. Again, encryption is a dual double-edged sword. Okay, it's great when it's working, but when it doesn't work, good night on that hard drive. And if you can't get in, you can't get in. You lose everything with that. And we're really with the mobility. One of the other things that I haven't mentioned, Jim, is really how we use our laptops as well. I mean, when people are out in the field, we use Sprint broadband cards so they can get the internet access, and that's a big challenge for us as well, because we're using 3G, not 4G. We're kind of looking to get 4G access, because we do have a lot of people that are social workers they may have to go up to the hills or to the mountains, so they may not get great reception. So they may try to log in, and it just takes a long time for them to try to log in and try to remote into the hospital network. I mean, that's some of the disadvantages that some of the hurdles that we're trying to overcome. Some of the advantages that we have is we are developing technology to use for people to remote in when they're at home, at work. One of the things we use is like a Citrix Access Gateway, where you can actually use your web browser to actually remote into the hospital network. We're working on that. I've kind of taken that initiative to kind of get back. We had a lot of laptops that were issued out to people that really weren't using them. So we're like, hey, use this other technology. It works great, and we've got some laptops back because of that. So I'm hoping the VA sticks with this CAG technology, where you can actually remote in using your personal laptop, and using a web browser, and you can remote in. It keeps everything sandboxed.
Yeah, that's getting a lot more common, right? I mean, the enterprise can save some wear and tear and cheaper equipment just by letting folks use their personal computers to get access to the the network, like you said, Citrix or something like that to log in. We have a couple of different ways. You can do it that way. You can SSL in, and just it kind of creates that network connection that some things will run. And then I have web access, like I can get, I have a web access account that I can just get my email through. So that's kind of handy. I still use my, for me, with my laptop at work, and Christian, I don't know what life was like at NASA last summer for you, or even at school. And I mentioned this on the show several times. I don't need a laptop so much so that I'm mobile at home or outside of work. I need a laptop so I can be mobile at work. So we move around and collaborate a lot, and I might be in 4 different rooms during the day in various meetings, and it's just really important to have my laptop with me. I mean, we often work in meetings all on laptops all at the same time, and then maybe even collaborating with people in different locations. And so I'm finding the laptop mobility for me is the mobility that I need inside of work. Outside of work is great too. I can go out and get a cup of coffee at Starbucks and work, when I'm doing it that way or whatever. But I've really found the need inside. Christian, last summer at NASA, a lot of collaboration. Were you moving around a bit, or did you find yourself just kind of in the cube working on a workstation?
Yeah, I mean, we have conferences and staff meetings and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there is some moving around. I particularly will either just write stuff down on paper and scrounge it back to my office later, or I'm kind of the guy that just sits there and memorizes everything people are saying so that I don't have to type or anything.
Of course you do.
The most important thing for me while I'm not there has been the Vigo. Obviously, that's like my virtual representation. I go to all my meetings on that. I'm driving all down the hallways. So
you seriously got one of those?
Yeah, it's set up. I've been using it for like 4 months now.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's so.
So what is this thing? I mean, just give us an idea of what the hardware is like.
So it's like a 4.5 foot tall robot, right? It's got a nice motorized wheelbase. Where your head should be is a screen that has your video feed coming through. It's got a nice large webcam above it that you can flip all around and that good stuff. It's got a 12-hour battery life, so I can go the whole day driving all over the place without any problem. And it's hooked up to the Verizon 4G LTE network, so I don't have to worry about like losing access points as I'm driving through the building and that kind of stuff. So it's just really helpful because I can sit down in the morning and it's like I don't even have to pick up the telephone and start getting my work done. I log into the Vigo, bam, there's my coworker, there's the office. If we're collaborating on a screen project, I can just zoom the camera right in onto their computer screen and see what they're talking about. I can have them open the door and drive down to my boss's office or to a staff meeting. So,
is your coworker a human?
Yes.
Yeah. What? So how many are there in the?
So Sheldon, do you get out? I mean,
yeah. Actually, they did purchase Bazinga T-shirts for the robot, so that is covered. Also, though, you'd be amazed. This is their first prototype, so I'm the first person ever to be doing this at Langley.
Okay, so just you.
Yeah, and I actually have another demo on Monday. I've been demoing it for a lot of these other groups within NASA that are like, oh, this is really cool. Anyway, you'd I know it sounds terrible, but you'd be amazed at how much fun it is to watch some of these people who have no idea about the project and get utterly like freaked out. I was driving it a couple weeks ago. And I drove that thing out of the elevator and into the hallway and just had it sitting in the middle. And people just, heads would start coming out of their doors. And some of them were like, oh my God, what is that? And then one of the funny features on it is I can type messages and have the robot speak it out. So they were so confused between the robot talking and seeing this kid on the screen, and they just wanted to run the other way. And I was talking to one of the guys, and the person standing behind couldn't see the screen, so he was convinced it was like this artificially intelligent robot that was carrying on this elaborate conversation with someone. And you just get these people who are freaked out. I mean, I can drive down the hallway with people I've never seen a day in my life, and just have the robot go, "Hello, sir, how are you?" And they kind of do a double take. They pause for a second. They do one of these. They either have a really scared reaction, or they like get up close and start touching it. It's really funny. It's hilarious. But yeah, it's a really cool tool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a picture of it anywhere? Has anybody sent you any pictures of yourself?
Oh, if I had a dollar for every time someone took a picture of that thing. Anyway.
So, Christian, you show up for work and they go, you know what? We're going to start a new program. You're the first guy. You don't actually have to come here anymore.
Yeah.
You just use this thing.
That's what they've been doing all year. Trust me.
Well, is that weird though? When the robot, so does it park? Do you park it somewhere
It does,
at the end of the day? Okay.
It has a dock where it gets all its juice, and it has like an auto docking feature. So when I'm within a certain range of the dock, all I have to do is click dock, and it'll just drive itself to the dock.
You were talking about this at the end of last summer, and I really was. Seriously, I was like, "Yeah, okay, Christian, you've gone over. You have lost it now." But seriously, they did this, and and so when you sign into it, it just comes on, right, and drives off the dock, and then you start navigating. What do you use to navigate the robot on your end?
Yeah, it has two ways you can do it. You can either just do it with the keyboard arrow keys, or it has like this on-screen navigation where it has a half circle on the computer screen, and you drag your mouse in the direction you want to go on the screen, and it just takes you there. And the farther up your mouse goes on the screen, the faster it starts accelerating. So that's cool too.
What's the top speed on this thing?
It's got like gears 1 through 5. I mean, it's not gonna outpace Usain Bolt or anything, but you'll find quickly that it's a little bit of a learning curve to learn how not to run into every single thing around you. But once you get it, like, it's a good speed. Like, the max speed is a good speed. I wouldn't want it to go faster.
Okay.
Yeah. Does it look anything similar to the one that Sheldon used on Big Bang?
It does, in the sense that it's got the whole monitor thing going on.
Yeah, when you typed real quick there, Christian, it muted you.
Damn Google. Anyway.
The Christian
or
filter.
was that NASA filtering you?
What was I even? Okay. So it has the Sheldon T-shirt. It has the same like form factor. It's got the monitor. And actually, one of my developer friends too built one of his own kind of that was just like the one on Big Bang Theory, and he controls his with his Android phone and uses that as the controller, and that's really nice. Ideally, I think it would be really cool if they added support for like a USB joystick. I think that would be totally sweet if I could just drive
on
that
your
thing
end.
around.
Or what? Just why not a controller? Why not a game
or like
controller?
an Xbox controller. Yeah, either one of those really. There's a new.
I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah. Actually, I might be able to do some testing. There's some new hardware that we get to prototype this summer that is like, it's supposed to change the future of how we use our computers instead of keyboards. I'm trying to remember the name of the company. I got it somewhere, but give me like 2 hot seconds to find it. One Mississippi.
Change how we use our computers.
Yes, it actually is pretty cool. Here we go. All right. This thing is called the Leap Motion hardware controller.
Oh yeah, it sits in front of the monitor and it takes your hand motions.
Right, and
what do you call it?
Except you don't touch
Kinect.
anything.
It's a Kinect.
Yeah, like a Kinect, except it doesn't have cameras facing forward. It's got sensors that face up and out.
As much as people pick on the Kinect, we use it all the time and say, Xbox pause, Xbox play, and then when I'm watching regular TV, I want to get up and say Xbox pause, and regular TV won't do it. So we actually use it quite a bit. But go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, so this thing is like just a little sensor in front of the screen, and it's like having a touch screen without a touch screen, right? You're just kind of waving your hands in the air and doing stuff. So that isn't out on the market yet, but we got
it's coming soon. Greg
Skynet, according to Rick
Greg Welsh has been watching that closely. He jumps in every time we talk about it. He mentioned that last year when they first prototyped it. So he always jumps in there.
Yeah, so we have a prototype that we get to test before it comes to the market that I might be able to see if I could use it to control the robot with my hands. That would be something, actually.
And when your hands get tired, then the robot just falls down.
Yeah. So, and actually, if you want to see a picture of it, it is a corporate thing. Look up Vigo. I think it's just vigo.com, vgo.com.
I think Mike Martis put in the notes vigocom.com.
Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, you bet. Take a peek at that.
And that's not like something you can go buy off Newegg. You have to like call and custom order it. I think they ran for about $4,000 per unit, so it's obviously on the pricey side, but apparently I'm worth it to them. So, so yeah, it's been really a fantastic unit.
Nice. Well, you're a good test subject for it, anyways. I mean, if they're going to kind of test that remote, that idea of a remote worker out, that you're the right guy to try it on for sure. Yeah. Well, there was a question Lopta had asked in chat. When you're logged in and you're looking through the eyes of the robot, do you lose kind of the sense of what's going on around you locally? Do you feel like you're there?
Actually, yeah. I was amazed at how good a job they did. The camera is really wide. It's a wide angle lens, so I mean, you really feel like, unless someone directly sneaks up behind you, which, trust me, it's happened before.
I bet it has.
I was driving that thing, and my coworker somehow managed to hide behind it as soon as I logged in, and of course the other people in the office told me that he went to a meeting, right? So I'm sitting here driving, I'm going, man, this thing is acting funny. I click the button to turn left and it stalls right. I just don't get what's going. Come to find out 20 minutes later, he's hiding behind the base, holding the robot, doing all sorts of stuff, messing with me. But besides the direct sneak behind, you get, like, I feel like, obviously if someone snuck up right behind me, I wouldn't see them. It's the same thing. Like, for the most part, it's a pretty nice wide with a view, so you do feel like you're in the room. The only like thing that is a little bit disjointing is the fact that the base is only 4.5 feet and I'm 5'10", so
it just feels like you're really short.
Obviously that, yeah. But really, other than that, it really doesn't feel that awkward because you can just push the camera to look up and it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But do you get, after working with it for a while, so say you're in the office for a good part of the morning, you got into a couple meetings, you come back, do you have that feeling like you were there? It was like, well, wait a minute, I was in the office.
I really do. You have no idea how much easier it is to work than, like, I'll tell you, I would be sitting on these telecons, like, drooling, falling asleep, because it was like, what's going on? But you're in that room and you feel like you're sitting at the table. I can wheel that thing right up to the table and it's just like I'm sitting down with everyone else. They had a staff meeting with like 20 Verizon guys like 2 weeks ago, and I did the Vigo demo for it. It feels totally real.
So what's their next step? Are they thinking that, obviously you wouldn't want the whole office like this. Somebody's got to be there to open the doors.
Right.
But are they thinking they're going to do this with more and more people?
Yeah, I think, obviously we were, I was kind of slated for testing it because I'm, at least in my branch, I don't think there's anyone else. I know in our branch, but again, there's several branches within our branch. But in general, I'm one of the only guys who is consistently working remote time, at least for my particular division. So it was kind of slated for me, but people are getting into telecommuting more and more often, especially on center. Like, for example, my boss works from home every Monday. She just that's her thing. She teleworks every Monday, and that's that. And so I think what they're trying to do is they're like kind of working on a combination of like video conference technologies and screen technologies. But we had a couple interns last summer work with our chief technologist to help set this up with me, and they did essentially a design map of what it's going to look like in 50 years out. And they're thinking a huge portion of their workforce is going to be telecommuting. It's going to be very interactive, and I think with our current technology and feasibility, I think the Vigo is the closest thing we got to that like in the office element.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to if you had the whole office do that, then do you really need an office? But outside of that, what about, do you need a physical device that can drive from room to room versus having a monitor in each room and you just pop in, you move from room to room virtually with your video rather than drive down the hall?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing. I personally totally dig driving down the hallway.
Oh no, I would love that too. It's like a remote control car.
Yeah. So I personally am like, yeah, this is the way. I mean, to be honest, like, I could video into any of our all of our conference rooms are equipped with multiple video cameras, so that's not really a big deal. We use Cisco WebEx like as a norm, so I mean that's already there really. I think the Vigo adds kind of the next dimension. Obviously, I think it could be improved. I'd really like to see a controller or a joystick. I'd really like to see arms. Just
so you can open the doors.
Yeah,
Arms.
yeah. Because actually, the way I do it right now, all of the doors in our building are they're like double blast handicap doors. So if I drive and slam the robot into the handicap sign pad on the wall, it'll open the doors for me, and I can get around mostly that way.
With this technology, you could actually have, if you had multiple offices, you can just disconnect from that one and connect to another one in Houston, and go to that.
Well,
go to a meeting there,
or even in the same building.
That's the really cool thing about having it managed by Vigo is that like when I log into my Vigo account, obviously it just shows my one Vigo, but it's designed, that is exactly what it's designed for. You can have like you can have as many Vigos as you want, Houston, LA, New York, and you can close out and go into different ones all the time. That's what this is built for. If you look at like the screenshots that the Vigo Corp puts in their user guide documentation, it'll have like the doctor who has like 4 different offices in the greater whatever area that he works in, and yeah, he's going in and out of patient homes, and that's where it gets really powerful, is when you have these Vigo docs sitting everywhere at all these different offices, and you can just pop in and out.
Yeah, Christian, what type of bandwidth do you need as far as where you're at? I mean, are they requiring you to have a certain level of bandwidth at home? Rather than just having a basic, are they requiring you to have the maximum?
I mean, the more important thing is the bandwidth that the Vigo has more than the bandwidth that you have connecting to it. So, like, if you're using the 4G Verizon card, as long as you're getting like a moderately decent signal strength, and again, the buildings at NASA are actually really resistive to the signal strength because everything is actually kind of designed to block out signals, because like I walked in last summer with my Sprint phone, and I just ended up turning it off because it wouldn't be 2 hours before it was completely drained from trying to roam for a signal. Actually, and to all my friends out here who know that I've been a Touch Pro 2 monster, that is no longer the case. We will talk about this another day, but the Galaxy Note is probably what has made me the most. I've been more productive on this in 2 weeks than I've been on that old phone in all 4 years, but that's for another time. But
great phone.
It's amazing. I can't even begin to describe it. I would take another 5 hours from you right now if I had the chance. Anyway, so 4G connection speeds. What are you getting on average with a moderate 4G connection speed? Maybe 5 down, 1 up. I mean, it's nothing special. On my end, You know, the video webcam rate is, I think, like 768 kilobits per second. So if you have 2-3 megabytes, you're probably going to be fine. What is actually more important, believe it or not, is having a moderately decent CPU. And I know it sounds silly, but like, it runs gorgeous on my desktop, and it runs gorgeous on most of the laptops I've used. But I loaded it up on my good old trusty N280 netbook one day, and let me tell you, the Atom processor, the first gen Atom processor, was like,
Yeah.
and I was able to drive the robot okay. But
How was that? What did it do?
it went.
Thanks,
you know,
Christian.
Jim, hold on. Jim, you have got to capture that and do like over and over and over and over and over.
That will be the max headroom on the computer, that when I hack in and take over his robot, it'll just be him doing that over and over.
Jim, you need to make that the outtake. But anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
This, I was like, I could drive okay with this, but I couldn't get, whenever I started talking, the audio was super duper choppy. So obviously this was not, couldn't do the video audio all at the same time. But, you know, I credit my N280 for having survived through all the other applications that are already running on here as it is. So it's probably already maxed out just running all the other crap I had open. So I don't hold it against that.
That's pretty cool, Christian. That's a good, I know we hadn't intended to go down that route. We had intended to talk about laptops, but I'm glad we talked about that, because I was not aware that you had made that kind of progress with that kind of device, and you were using that thing full time.
And he brought it back around by ending with a laptop.
Yeah.
See?
Great job.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
That's why he's the co-host.
Yeah.
He does that well. Well, we have a laptop to pick for Rich O'Neill, and I think what I'm gonna do is, I think I'm gonna close us up here. We're at an hour 20, and about where we should. I think I'm gonna close up the official show and go through all the EndNote stuff, and then we'll end that, and then we'll come. First thing we'll do on the post show is pick that laptop or talk about that laptop for Rich. How does that sound?
Yeah, I have great advice for Rich, so make sure you hang around, Rich. I see you out there.
Awesome. Yeah, Rich, I know it's late for you, so hang tight. We're going to get
He is
there.
getting old.
Come on now.
Well, he's getting old and he needs the nap.
Hey, now I need to nap too now.
Yowza. Christian, you're on, I almost said Christmas break. You're on summer break. You can stay up as late as you want.
I have to be up at like 7:30 every day to finish all the overtime NASA hours that I stalled off for the past month and a half.
Oh, man, you're catching up on contract work.
I've been doing like 8 hours a day solid since I
Nicely
got off.
done. Nice. And you had time. I should mention, so let me roll this into the wrap here. I should mention Christian spent some time. He sent me IM over Skype at work the other day and said, hey, check out theaverageguy.tv. And he had fixed some back-end stuff in WordPress that I've been waiting for, and it was lightning fast. And so, Christian, thanks for taking some time to get that fixed for us and get the speed improved.
And finally, I think, I don't know if it was just stuck in my browser cache or what, but there have always been some really funky fave icons for the average guy. So I finally made the tag average guy favorite icon. So if your browser isn't showing it, clear the cache or do something, because you're going to want to have that. Just 'cause I don't know what was on there before.
He made a fave, which is that little icon that's going to show up in the upper left-hand corner in Chrome. It'll show up on the tag, or I'm sorry, on the tab.
Yeah, and Google Webmasters Tools pulled it in, so I know it's working.
Yeah.
So that's sweet.
That's always good stuff.
Yeah, I'm up to 3 VPSs running. I just set up our 3rd virtual VPS with Verpus, and we've been rolling in some new web clients, and I was getting tight on space, and I got a couple of gyms and a couple here and there around Western New York, so I just opened up our 3rd server. It's starting to turn into a little virtual farm.
Nice.
It's kind of awesome, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But that's part of the I use this really nice combination formula of database dedicated, web server Apache dedicated, and then each site gets its own dedicated virtual host, and it gets it uses essentially a PHP proxy, so all the pages are loaded as applications instead of pages being served. So if you go to like bios-mods.com/forum, I have it optimized. It will not. That page will come up in under a second from pretty much wherever you are. The average guy.tv has a little bit of scripty stuff going on, so it might take 1.5, 2, but I mean, I'm running like 15 sites total of hitting that top throughput. And like I said,
Google keeps cutting you out, Christian.
Yeah.
damn you, Google.
It thinks you're typing.
But BIOS mods, gets 4,000 or 5,000 hits a day, and it's, the average guy runs on that same server, and you wouldn't know.
No, it's been great. It's been great.
So.
I've really appreciated it, and again, we've got a couple other customers on there, and I think this summer, I was telling Mike this last weekend, but I'll talk about, we started with the Know It guides. Those are the Windows 8 Know It guide and the Cloud Storage Know It guide. If you go to the averageguy.tv and look over on the right-hand side, I've got some Windows 8 looking Know It guides, and actually bought the knowitguy.com and knowitguy.com. And we're going to break off the Home Tech interview and actually make it the Know It Guy podcast and start doing interview stuff that way. So anytime we get an industry expert, either on the consumer side or the enterprise side, I run into those guys all the time, and we'll do, and when I say we, I mean me, I'll do those interviews, maybe add somebody else in there as well, but do those interviews and then release that through a new podcast called The Know It Guy. And that's not me, the Know It Guy, because I don't really know squat. You guys know that. It's you guys and the experts that know stuff. So watch for that. That's kind of my summer project. I got a deck to finish, so I'm hoping I can do both and get those both done. Yeah, I haven't for the last 2 years, so we'll see how it goes. But watch for that coming up, The Know It Guy. And actually, if you type that in now, it comes back to the averageguy.tv. So that is coming up. And then we have a contest going on right now, too. If you want to win 100 Amazon bucks, super simple. All you have to do is head out to the Facebook group. So facebook.com/groups/theaverageguy. That will get you there. And all you got to do is join. And we had 138 members last week, I think, when we did this, and we're up to 150 some now. So we've had some folks come over and join us. But if you're listening to the podcast, right, and you haven't come over to the Facebook group, you want to do that. It's a great group of guys in there. We're all in there chatting about tech stuff, and it's a great group to be a part of. I need some average guys, I need some average tech guys, and I need some above average tech guys.
Girls are welcome too.
Yes, gals would be welcome as well. A few have joined from the JPEG to RAW group, have come over to ask questions. So, Mike, thanks for shipping some folks over our way.
And I have to give a shout out to Sarah, because finally today, I've solved that Java issue that I posed to you like weeks ago.
Yeah.
Finally. Certainly was bizarre and took a little bit of Java source code overriding from the native Java source that they provide, but it is a beautiful piece of art now. So
good. Awesome.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
You bet. And so we talk about those kinds of things, everything from broken PCs to problems with Java to just about anything we want to. Industry news, cloud storage, all that stuff is available out there. So join it. And when we hit 250 people there, everybody gets put in the hat for a $100 Amazon gift card. So head out there tonight, tomorrow, whenever you're listening to this, and get in there as well. And then one more thing. And actually, Mike and I are getting ready in the next weekend or two. We're going to post a podcast about how to listen to podcasts, or how do you listen to podcasts, is the question I put out in the Facebook group. Still interested in knowing how you're listening. So if you've got something that's maybe outside of the norm, I've got all the things with iPod or with the Apple and the Android, some of the stuff. But love to hear how you listen to your podcast. Podcast at theaverageguy.tv. We're going to kind of put an average guy's guide together for listening to podcasts on different platforms. One of the platforms I talk about, and somehow Mike's podcast always beats me, JPEG to RAW. It's a photo podcast. All you do is show pictures, and you got double the subscribers on Stitcher, which is audio only, than I do.
Yeah, makes no sense.
And then I've got more subscribers on Facebook than you do. So it's stupid.
Makes no sense.
It's just stupid. But if you do want to get your podcast every week, Stitcher is a great way to do it. Just head out to Stitcher.com, search for Home Tech and Financial Tech. You might want to add that one to your list as well. Andrew Hunt and I do financial commentary. It's more Andrew than it's me. Again, I don't know anything. I just find smart guys like you to help me out with the stuff. Andrew jumps on and we do a short 10 to 15 minute podcast every week. Might be the best 15 minutes or the best financial 15 minutes of your week, head out there, search for Financial Tech, and add that to your Stitcher account. Or you can come out to the averageguy.tv, all the RSS feeds for both iTunes and Stitcher and the regular RSS feed that you can add for Xbox or any of that stuff that you're doing now is out there as well, and you can get all registered. The key to listen to the podcast every week is to make it automatic. So get out there and, try and make it automatic. And I know a lot of you guys listen to a lot of the podcasts, and if you made it all the way to the end of the show, thanks. Getting a lot of good feedback from you guys lately, and I just appreciate that feedback. It's always nice to know someone's on the other end listening when you spend all this time podcasting. Although I've said this a million times, I would podcast if nobody was listening, because I just love hanging out with you guys. And Mike and Eddie and Christian, thanks for taking some time tonight to be a part of the show. We'll do it again next Thursday. Remember, we got John Zadler and maybe a special guest coming. It's going to be a home server special, so not Wednesday night. Dave's off. We're going to move home server to Thursday night. John and I are going to hijack that, and you'll want to come out 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. All home server stuff all the time. So, Christian, make sure you got you're off next week too, so you don't have to worry about having your home server game on.
And I will be a newly graduated student.
Yeah, you'll be okay. Congratulations, by the way, on that.
Thank you.
I know we said that before, but congratulations on getting through that. So, guys, if you're listening out, stay for the post show. If you're listening to the recorded show, you'll never hear the post show unless you come out live. So join us live Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out at theaverageguy.tv live. That'll do it for us tonight. Hang around for the post show. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.